Sometimes what's decided locally doesn't match up with things like, I don't know, gubernatorial campaigns. Great to have you aboard. Welcome to my State of Mind. My name is Dan Yorke, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be with you each night here at 7:30, and we repeat at 11:30 in case you've missed us. I have a couple of parents from the east side of Providence tonight. I've told you before that if you've got some kind of burning issue that you think is really, really important for us to know about, you should contact us. I'm all about having the local people talk about their local challenges, because sometimes there's learning lessons not just for the local situation, but for everybody. And that might be the case tonight. A little controversy about where we're putting pre-K kids and the complications of running a city and perhaps running a gubernatorial campaign at the same time. We got a couple of parents that want to see Angel DeVeris. Angel, pay attention. Let's go to the rundown and see what's going on. Otherwise, it's never a good day. I'd like to be able to say that I'm happy to do my part. I'm happy to do my part. But it's days like today where I say, a lot of commemoration in Boston for what's happened a year ago, and it's all wholly appropriate, but I got a thought on it. I wrote that earlier this morning when I was watching the governor on television, and that's a figurative thing. He didn't really, but sort of. Let's move on here. Speaking of, in the same segment that the governor, the Speaker of the House did something I told him he shouldn't have done, and it's coming back to haunt him. The treasurer seems to like to find blame rather than looking ahead, and Holy Week tends to get all the attention, and our Jewish members of the audience need to have a happy. Let's break it down and see what we got tonight. Come on, man. It's April 15th. And we know that, and it's a tax deadline, and we all know that. And, the other day, I'm on the dining room table finishing up my notes, and my wife and I have this thing down to about an hour after I do all the work, and she does all the work. She does her half, I do my half. We got it all together. It's a typical thing in an American family, right? And I got to get it all together to send it off to the accountant, because there's no way I trust myself to be right, legal, and fully paid. But after I take a look at all the taxes I pay from a federal, state, Medicare, TDI, property taxes, as you lay one piece of paper on the next, you say, oh, yeah, and you do an annual review of what you pay. It makes me just, because I don't think we're getting the total benefit for our taxpayer dollar. And those of us who make a little bit of money, pay a lot of bit of taxes and don't have enough income to beat the system, versus all those other people that are beating the system who pay very little. And look at these data points. Check this out. From a Marist poll, 76% have already filed, so they don't feel the pressure, because they're getting refunds. Or at least most of them are, 61%. 56% of those polls say, hey, you know what? They believe they paid enough, meaning they were happy with it. I'm not sure we wrote that exactly the way, now that I look at it. They were happy, believe that they should have paid that money. And 18% filed on their own. This is kind of like tax trivia. Here's the bottom line. 56% of Americans say, I'm happy with the amount of federal tax I'm paying. You know why? Because most of you don't pay it. Most of you don't pay it. You get it back in lump sum, or you pay so very little. The other 44% of us are trying to figure out why we're paying for the 56% and seem to be so happy. Now, I'm not trying to create a tax class warfare thing here. But the truth is that when we have 56% of taxpayers saying, I'm just happy as a pig in you-know-what to write this check, because they're not writing a check, there's no way we're going to get tax change in this country. So every year, I just have to spit because I'm so mad, and by tomorrow, I'll get over it, sort of, and so will you. Next item. I don't know about that whole commentary. Tax day's not a good day. All right. That's my philosophy. Here's headlines. Last year, I can remember the day, just like you can remember the day. Just came off the radio, went downstairs at WPRO and looked at the TV and said, oh no, what happened up there? And then, of course, here's a headline today with one of the victims whose just shown incredible courage as he battles back for a year. And of course, there was all sorts of ceremony. Liz Walker used to do Channel 4's anchoring, and now as a reverend, emceed some of the very poignant events today.
Crystal Campbell, her energy and zest, her adventure and passion, we remember Lingzi Lu. Heart and sparkling eyes, music and guilelessness, Martin Richard. Tough and competitive, kind and caring, Sean Collier. Dedicated with honor, trusted and respected.
All right, those are 3 lives lost at the race, and then the officer who lost his life later on. These ceremonies are wholly appropriate and beautiful. I mean, here was some of what was happening in the moment of silence. The vice president showed up. But can I just say something about this? First of all, I made a mistake last night. I referred to this as a tragedy, which is a mark against my own philosophy. I don't call these things tragedy. It's a tragic situation that we lost these lives and there were so many people who were hurt. But this is a terror attack by 2 punks. It's not a tragedy. It's an act of war. And here's the thing. I know we have a culture to commemorate every year these kinds of things. I think the first year is wholly appropriate. I hope we're done with this, though. We should never forget those who were lost or those who have been hurt. And we should follow their stories. But no more of this. You know why? Because those 2 punks don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve a legacy for a couple of makeshift bombs and backpacks. They don't. I get why we're doing it now, but enough. Next item. The governor just lost his marbles today. So MSNBC, the cable network, thankfully they're the 3rd-ranked major cable network. They do this thing where they parade around the states a little bit and they highlight the states. So they decided to do a 12-minute hammer job on the state of Rhode Island about our corruption problem. And they asked Governor Chafee about it. Now, you know, copyright issues and the like, I don't have the video here, but I do have Governor Chafee in an edit that we ran on the radio today talking about how we've transitioned out of corruption. What?
Well, we're cleaning it up, and having these convictions and these investigations and these raids are all part of cleaning it up. And yes, we're going through a transition, but I think a lot of Rhode Islanders know that we're doing the right thing. And certainly you mentioned me as being governor, and my motto running for office has always been trust Chafee, and the voters know that. So there's a whole layer of leadership that is incorruptible. Yes, we have some of our issues with corruption, but we're addressing it and weeding it out and cleaning it up.
You know, twice he said that we were transitioning from corruption, like transitioning from manufacturing to high tech. We're transitioning from corruption. And this notion of trust Chafee, Governor, I don't care. Have you looked at your favorability ratings lately? You have a 20% number, which is why you're not running again. Nobody trusts you to do anything. And I'm not gratuitously picking on you, Governor. What did you do about corruption since you've been in there? Where was your call for a renewed ethics commission? Crickets. Where was your call for government oversight on the 38 Studios thing? Other than a litigation that you started, crickets. Where's your call for the master lever? Crickets. Who are you kidding? My goodness. He embarrassed us in front of the country today. As opposed to battling for us, he just talked about us transitioning from corruption. By the way, we're getting it done. Since when are you a part of the FBI, the IRS, or the state police? And then continuously, I told you so, Nick Mattiello, the House Speaker, you know, he was also in this piece, and they used an edit which is slightly different than the one we've got here, but same theme, where he's thanking Gordon Fox, the Speaker of the House, who was just raided.
We support him, and we know he will always support the entire House. He loves and respects this House.
You guys tend to think that it's your own little party. There's an entire electorate of state. The other night, I had Nick Mattiello on, and I roughed him up pretty good on this. These guys don't understand. Their myopic point of view is just so narrow that they don't understand that when they talk this way, they are marketing to the rest of the country and the world that we are helpless to save ourselves. Mattiello hasn't done a thing on ethics or the master lever. House oversight, we'll see how it goes. And Karen Macbeth, who's the chair of the new House Oversight Committee, is coming in next week, not this week, but next week to talk to us about it. The marketing of this state needs to begin with a cleansing for real, and the business climate will only improve when we cleanse for real. All right, real quick, let's move on to a couple other things. Gina Raimondo is in the blame game thing here, I guess. You know, we've settled the, they tried to settle the pension deal, right, with 6 units of bargaining. That's Judge Sarah Taft Carter and the whole rigmarole around the pension settlement. Well, Gina Raimondo yesterday was talking to our news people, and I edited this together. This is a combination edit on the radio show today, where she's just picking on the police that voted no on this thing.
This is obviously, it's very frustrating and disappointing that on account of a small group of union leaders and union members that the mediation fell apart. And it's very unfortunate that it was on account of a small group of union leaders and union members that everyone else has to suffer, and the whole thing fell apart.
You set it up that way. You settled with the unions, created 6 bargaining units, all of whom who had to ratify the deal. Why? Because they exercised their First Amendment rights and voted no? They blew it? Stop it. You're a year late in going to trial to defend the good work that you did in 2011. Stop with this nonsense, the blame game and the politics. Just lead, Gina. Just lead. And finally, I just wanted to say, as the Christian community warms up here in Holy Week for the most solemn day on Friday and Easter Sunday, our Jewish family is enjoying Passover dinner beginning last night, right, sundown, and unfortunately there's a little whitefish problem. Like the nice thing, here's the good news, here's the headline. And we've got some other stuff there to fill in the conversation. What else do we have there? We got some pictures of some whitefish, and didn't we have some other stuff? There you go. They're sold out across the country. Here's the good news. Well, here's the bad news. Bad news, you don't have a lot of whitefish. Here's the good news. You got a lot of Jewish folks who are, you know, doing the Passover thing, still committed to observing. Happy Passover. You shouldn't get short shrift. When we come back, we got a couple of parents who say they're getting short shrift. They want to tell you why. Stay with us. Alrighty, welcome back in. Here's a headline that caught our attention, and you know, I've seen a lot of emails about this story. Providence parents blast decision to close Fox Point pre-K. This is an interesting conversation, and as I told you, you know, if you've got a local neighborhood issue that you think is really important, you can let me know, and we'll kind of, you know, get into it here. And my parents here from the east side are ripping. What is that?
That's pretty, yes.
Are you ripping?
I'm ripping. Yes, pretty accurate.
And Holly Beth, you're ripping.
I'm ripping.
You're ripping. All right.
I'm ripping.
And bottom line is, you want to see the mayor.
I do.
You want a meeting with the mayor.
I do.
The mayor who's running for governor. That guy.
Yes.
Okay, so
yes, I do.
That's the executive summary. She needs a meeting with the mayor. So the mayor's people who watch this show and pretend they don't, they're looking for a meeting. I'll be happy to have it here, but
Yes.
probably be a more constructive setting, you know, in the office. Tell me the story. There's a transition going on in the public school systems when it comes to pre-K, correct?
That's right. What's happened now is I was informed by text message, no less, that my 3-year-old son is going to be moved to a school about an hour bus ride away for a special needs program. And this will increase his bus ride by 300%. My child, who has a developmental age of 2, will spend 360 hours on the bus next year in order to cluster the pre-K programs all on the west side of the far west side of Providence.
The little one's name is, what's your son's name?
Killian.
Killian. Well, there's Killian. You brought the pictures, and you get some video. I'm not going to play that because I'm very sensitive about little ones on television. But it's important that you see that video because look how tiny he is. I mean, in stature, and you're going to ship him for an hour bus ride over to
Asa Messer.
the west side. The south
right.
side. Is it the south
So
side?
it's
The
the
south
west
side.
end. It's actually the west end.
Okay, so before we get into the nuances of that, what's your gripe?
My gripe is that we've never really even been formally informed about this. There's been no paperwork that was sent home. Just basically word of mouth is the reason why we even know that this is even going on. Now we're not even really being included. It's just, this is the decision that we're making, and you just have to accept it. And I have a 5-year-old daughter who is going into kindergarten and a son who also has special needs who will also need pre-K. And I grew up on the east side. I had the option to go to school in my neighborhood. And I just don't like the fact that they are segregating the special needs children away from their neighborhood and making it so that they have to go to a special school, and now they don't have the right or the luxury to go to school in their own neighborhood.
Right. We don't have universal pre-K in Rhode Island.
We don't.
So not all the kids at age 3 are going to school.
That's right.
But we have little ones who have challenges who are going to school at that age.
That's right. The law is that if you have a child that has an IEP, 3
Individual education program.
That's right. Between 3 and 5 years old, the public school is obligated to put your child in the public system.
And so you've been sending your kids to Varton,
Yes,
correct?
that's
on
right.
the east
Gregorian,
side.
yes.
And you like the program.
It's the most popular program in the city.
How many kids are there?
Right now, I believe, how many, Holly Beth?
There are 62 children that are
62.
in the program, 100% of which will get disrupted by this decision. About 33% of those kids are from the immediate neighborhoods, and so what we're saying is that when you look at the talking points from the school administration, they significantly understate, like systematically manipulate the data to ensure that nobody sees this story as we see it.
All right, I'm going to have Holly Beth explain what that means. We've got a map that we'll show you when we come back about where the schools are, what the alleged plan is. And by the way, there's a big meeting tomorrow night that might actually bear some fruit. Stay with us. So I'm sitting here looking at maps and trying to figure this whole thing out. There are 4 schools in the Providence system that have pre-K right now, and there will be 4 reportedly with this rumored change that is coming. And these 2 moms are fit to be tied. A, about the communication, correct?
Yes,
B,
absolutely.
the dialogue debate. And you're not getting a seat at the table, is what you're suggesting.
We are absolutely not getting a seat
School
at the
committee
table.
non-responsive.
You know, at this point, the PTO is involved. The parents are involved. We have a community
The
activist
PTO
involved.
for Varton Gregorian.
The PTO for Varton
for your
Gregorian.
neighborhood school.
Yes.
Sam Zurier has been excellent. He's been involved.
Counselor.
Our counselor. Nobody can get a seat at this table, and we have been told that the transition is happening. And I have looked at all the numbers. I'm looking at the talking points. They don't make sense to me. We're trying to put the brakes on.
Okay.
We've
Here's
been
the
unsuccessful.
map. Can we show the map, Steve, and put that thing up? Explain what this map says to people.
Okay, so what you're seeing is 4 stars, and if you look, there are 4 current programs: Pleasant View, Carnivale, Forts, and Varton Gregorian. The proposal would eliminate the Varton Gregorian program and move it to Asa Messer.
And Asa Messer, folks, if you're looking at the map, it's on the left side of your map, and that's on the west-south side of the city. Where only 13% of the students right now are using pre-K. Is that?
That's 13% of the students in that area are actually going to Varton Gregorian right now.
Okay.
Varton Gregorian is a collaborative program. So what's happening is that by eliminating the Varton Gregorian program, you see that the entire east and north and actually south side of the city are all underserved, and all of those special needs kids will be segregated out of their home community for the benefit, really, of the administration. History has shown
Why
that,
does the administration benefit from that? Why?
well, what happens is that throughout history, administrations have, and actually governments, have segregated special needs kids in clusters so that their specialists can take care of them in clusters. It's always regretted, because what happens is that those special needs kids are not growing up with their peers, they're not growing up in their neighborhoods.
Right, they're not mixing with their own folks.
Right.
Do you think it's
Exactly.
politically expedient for them to do this?
I believe it is.
Why?
I believe that our children are being played as pawns in a game
What
because
game?
the game is votes. The votes over at the other side of East Messer. Like, you can't have a platform called Universal Pre-K and you're taking pre-K away from a whole side of town. And you've made it where.
Well, if the folks in the East Messer District are coming to the east side now, don't they feel like they have too much to do to be able to get to pre-K themselves?
Well, what we understand is that the Vartan Gregorian program is considered the premier program. And so the parents that we've talked to.
Will the same teachers move to a new location?
They are not. The talking points say that the program is simply relocating. That is absolutely misleading.
No.
The teachers, the specialists, everybody that supports our children will change. This is 100% disruption in the kids' training
You
plans.
need the ear of the super, and you need the ear of the mayor. Now, the mayor is all about this universal pre-K thing in his gubernatorial run, right?
Right.
That's right.
And you think it's double talk because
Yeah, it is.
he's not paying attention to what's in his own community right now, correct?
Absolutely.
You haven't had a chance to speak to him. You bumped into him and he went white, you
Yeah,
said.
he completely just,
What?
you know, just completely went flat when I mentioned the whole thing about pre-K leaving Vartan Gregorian, and he just.
There's a meeting tomorrow night. Here's the data on that. If you're interested in this conversation, and many people I'm sure will be, the school board meeting, it's, you know, at the Westminster Street, 6:30. And this will be on the agenda, correct?
This is not on the agenda for
It'll
the
be on
school
your
committee.
agenda.
It's on our agenda.
Absolutely.
And
All right.
unfortunately, you know, we'll see if we can get this decision delayed or stopped.
Mayor, will you take a meeting with these ladies, please? Take a meeting. We'll follow up. Your state of mind when we come back. Stay with us. There's a lot of stuff in your community that you want to have heard, so call, give us a buzz, 228-1886. Leave a voicemail if it's for the air. If not, just let us know. Email me at stateofmind@myritv.com. You know, in these situations where you've got look, all politics is local. You got to at least listen to the people, and you got to give them a fair hearing no matter what instrumental decision you're making. Hopefully the mayor, the super, will listen to those parents at Vartan. We'll follow up. We'll see you tomorrow, 7:30 on MyRI TV and on the radio at noon on WPRO. Bye.